Hey guys, what's up? So I was going to make a video on that Xbox One S today, getting it cleaned up and back in 100% working order. But I was out getting lunch and I was driving around in the Scion with the sunroof open and remembered that the sunroof button doesn't close on this car very well. And I remember that actually when I put it to the car wash to wash it. So I finagled with it a little bit off camera and it is currently closing. Oh, wait, nope, there it is. There we go. Come on. Yeah. So in a 2015 model car, I should not be having that much of an issue with the sunroof button. And I bought this thing brand new. I put 80,000 miles on it. So I mean, it's seen some use. It's starting to show its age a little bit. But I've been in 1992 Hondas with the sunroof button still work just fine. So I think that's going to be the topic of this week's video. I'm going to get that disassembled and see if we can't get that back to life. I don't want to replace the switch. I want to get it to just work with the switches already in there if I can. But that should be interesting. I've never had that thing apart. I've taken the entire dash apart in this car. It's put together like a Kia kit. It's incredibly simple to take apart. Scion basically just used, connect by numbers to put this car together. I love it. It's great. But yeah, so I'll catch up with you guys when we get home and see if we can't get this switch to work. Alright guys, we are back. And before you do any work on anything electrical in your car, you always want to remove your negative battery terminal. I'm actually going to be removing the entire battery because it's starting to get cold here in western North Carolina. So it's time to put this thing on the charge for the year. Make sure we got plenty of power to start the car in the morning. I'm also going to be removing this filter here. It's been on there a couple months. It's time to go ahead and take it off and clean it. So 10mm socket. To get this guy off here, it's just a flathead screwdriver, simple hose clamp. We'll set it up, and it'll slide right off the end. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of dirt down in there, but it is time to definitely take it in and clean it. Alright, so the part we are after is this sunroof button right here. It is self-contained, and this entire unit is one piece. It is not required to take the bulbs out or this glass piece off, but it makes me feel better to take that off, so that's where I'm going to start. The spudger, it's super easy to get it out and to drop it, and the bulbs pull straight out. Now, to get the entire unit off the ceiling, it's held in by 4 clips, one on each corner. You grab it from the side and pull straight down. You're going to feel like you're going to break it. It does take quite a bit of force, especially if it's never been removed. But pull straight down and the clips will remove. You do want to be mindful, there are wires connected to it here, and if you pull down too far, you will break them. Now, we've got the piece we're looking for, this button right here. We'll take it inside and see if we can't fix it. So washing one of these mushroom filters literally couldn't be simpler. That's why I've always liked using these. I feel like you don't really see a whole lot of performance gains with using these. You'll have some guys swear you do over the stock airbox, but I like using these because of the easiness to clean them. I don't have to buy a new filter every single time and put a new one on. I can take this one inside, run it under some hot water, and dry it out, put it back on, and get another 3, 4, 5 months of use out of it before it needs to be cleaned again. And I found that this is only the second filter that we've ever bought to put on that car, and we've had that car now 5 years. And the first filter, the only reason we replaced it is the rubber mating surface here disintegrated to the point where it was no longer making a seal. So that's why we ended up replacing it. But these things are awesome. I highly recommend going with these types of washable filters. I do really like the ones that have the open cone in the center. There's a lot of ones that just have a plastic cap here instead of having the cone. I always try to get the ones that have the cone, but it's really up to you which one you want to get. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. A little bit of brown water running out of it, but it could have easily went another couple of months before it was critical. Stuff like this is better to take care of it now. Preventative maintenance instead of reactive maintenance. If you can find a problem before it's a problem, it's easier to fix. I think that'll do it just fine there. Now, one thing, you do not want to put these back on wet. You definitely want to dry them before you put them back on. They live in your engine bay, so they can handle temps, 100, 110, 120, 30, 40 degrees, no problem. So I usually put it in my toaster oven and put it on like 110, 120, somewhere in there, and bake it for probably about 20 minutes just to encourage it to dry a little bit more. It's not necessary. You could just set it on the shelf and let it do its thing, and it'll dry just fine. Alright, now it's time for the real star of the show, the sunroof button. Just trying to figure out what's wrong with this guy and why he will open, but he doesn't want to close. So I have not taken this apart yet. I have not done any pre-work off camera. So you are all along for the ride, same as I am. Where is my parts tray? So let's not go losing screws before we even begin. Now, I've looked this up on the internet, and it seems to be a pretty common issue on this model car, but I don't see a whole lot of people attempting to fix it. Now, I did run across one guy who said that he took his apart and he found out it wasn't making good contact with the switch. The pad on the switch wasn't making good contact with the actual electrical contactor. And he was able to build that up a little bit and set that out of there and get it back into making contact. So that's our close and that's our open. And I don't see anything wrong with that per se. Solder joints look alright. Yeah, all that looks to be okay. Now I do know there is a hard stop when you push this button to the close position. Not a whole lot of travel. So I'm wondering if that could actually be the issue. Let's just put this back in real quick. There we go. I'm gonna have to look at this some more. Because it seems to be making decent contact. Okay, so this board appears to be in pretty decent shape. It's very simple. Just like two switches, open and close, and then the on-off and door switch for the lights. Not a whole lot going on. I'm having issues with the close. The open works just fine. It never seems to give me any problems. The close is intermittent. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes the second you hit it, it closes like normal. Other times you have to sit there and jab it, jab it, jab it, jab it, and it doesn't want to do anything. So the solder on the back doesn't look the worst that I've ever seen, but it also doesn't look the best. Short of replacing the switch itself, which I think is actually what needs to be done, and I don't have one on me. So I am going to reflow the solder on the back of that. I've got the little portable solder gun heating up over here. Yeah, and we'll see what that does for us. Hopefully that fixes our issue. Okay, so I moved you in a bit closer so you can actually see. These two contacts here are the ones we're interested in. That is for the close switch. And I can't find my flux pen, so I'm using my paste flux, and I also can't find my brush. So, a wheel that I have to do. Not sure if my soldering iron's hot yet. Way more flux on there than I needed. That's okay. why you should have the proper tools. Got that solder nice and molten. Move up to the next one. Okay. Now that I've remelted the original solder, I am going to tin up my iron and add a little fresh solder. Alright, quick wipe. Oh yeah, we'll clean that up with a little bit of alcohol, and that looks a lot better. Flux is corrosive. You don't want to leave it on the board if you can help it. You can get it off of there. It'll make your life a lot easier later on down the road. And while I've got this out, I'm going to go ahead and clean the contacts for the white bulbs as well. Nothing contacts on that side. I'm honestly surprised at how simple this board is. There's no logic or anything on it. It's just simple switches and wires. There's really a story with that entire car. It's a 2015 model, and compared to the 2014 Honda that we have, there is no comparison. It's just they're two totally different worlds. All right, well, let's get this guy reassembled and see if we fixed our issue. And to put this guy back together, literally couldn't be simpler. Don't forget to reinsert the light socket for your bulbs, unless you enjoy having a completely dark cabin, which I do not. I find it easier to put that switch directly in the center and to put this switch here in the center position. That is your door on and off for your interior dome lights. That way when you lay this guy down, it should match up pretty close to center. Make sure that's in there. And don't forget your two screws right in the center. Or you can be like me and throw them across the room before you put them in for good measure. Simple as pie. Putting this back in is actually a lot easier than taking it out. You don't have to worry about breaking anything. Just make sure you got it turned the right way. Reinsert your wires into their respective holes. Find your line-up position for your clips. And there she is. I find it's easier if you apply pressure on all four corners at once instead of trying to do 2 and 2. It seemed to align a lot easier. Reinstall the lights. Now, pardon me while I reconnect the battery. All right, battery is reconnected. Time for the moment of truth. Opens just fine. Do we have close? Look at that. Sunroof opens. Sunroof closes. Now, of course, only time will tell if it will continue to work, but for now, I'm going to call that fixed. Alright guys, well that is going to do it for this video. We did get the sunroof button repaired and reinstalled. Like I said, only time will tell if that will continue to work. Hopefully it will. If it doesn't, it's a pretty cheap part, easy to replace. I'll just get a new one, or actually just get a new switch and solder that on. Got the Air filter reinstalled as well. I did that off camera just because it's really windy outside and I didn't want to put you guys through that. Discovered that the hose clamp on it is actually broken, so I'm going to have to get a new hose clamp and put on there. But all in all, I think everything went well, and I'll see you guys next week.